Did you know that the average teenager spends nearly 7.5 hours on their phone every day? In that time, you could watch a 2-hour movie almost 5 times in a row, or ride a roller coaster at a theme park 45 times, or fly to Hawaii and swim for an hour. You can make the best use of those 7.5 hours by spending 5 minutes of your day on the Keys to Success app. Keys to Success is a mobile app and website that rewards you for exploring your future. See you soon!
Esports is more than just gaming.
It's just a really good way to meet new people who are interested in the same thing as you.
It gives them a good sense of sportsmanship and teamwork.
The big goal with KenGarf Esports is to introduce these students to industry. We want to show them that they can take their interest and passion and turn it into future opportunity.
And it's open to everyone. Encourage students to sign up for KenGarf Esports today. To learn more about success in education and coding programs, visit SIEutah.org.
Did you
Success in Education KenGarf Fall Festival 2022 preseason. Today's matches will be held on the title of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, an exhibition match between Pleasant Grove versus Westlake, the 5868 division. I'm Ashkan, joined by the wonderful Juice. Juice, how are you doing? And let us know what the format is for today.
Man, I am doing absolutely wonderful. Obviously, it is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day probably where everybody is right now. In Tucson, it's actually raining a little bit, so I like my days a little rainy. But speaking of format, we're actually going to be getting into basically a 4v4 match. So this crew battle is going to be 4 players versus 4 players. So Westlake and Pleasant Grove are going to be playing each other in a 4v4. Whoever basically wins the match in the very beginning, that player is going to obviously hop out. The last person standing is going to keep their stocks, and then they are going to continue with however many stocks they have left in this game. In terms of stages, we are actually going to be having, for starters, we're going to have Battlefield, Final Destination, Pokemon Stadium 2, Smashville, and Town and City. For our counter picks, we're going to have Kalos, Pokemon League, Lilac Cruise, and Small Battlefield. Of course, all amiibos, all spirits, everything is going to be turned off, so everything is kind of set to as optimally as basically competitive Smash Ultimate gets. Meaning there's not going to be amiibos, there's not going to be a final Smash meter, nothing like that. It's just going to be good old 1v1 fun.
All right, so let's go ahead and get a peep at what the roster is going to be looking like, starting with Pleasant Grove. So we're going to have Woolpet 20, Paxafen, Mario Glitchy 9, and EBD. And then on the flip side, looking at the opposing roster, we're going to get a glimpse at what Westlake is about when we can. But Juice, I wanted to point out that something with the characters, the lock-in. Once you have selected a character in this crew battle, you are locked in for however many matches you can get through. So whether you are out in the first match, you're unfortunately the person that gets that loses all 4 stocks first, or if you're able to sweep the entire enemy team, all of it has to be done with the same character. So you're going to be seeing a lot of comfort picks. And I'm just going to be curious if any of the teams want to do anything fancy, pulling out all the same character. For example, something cute like the 4 swords with Link, something like that.
Yeah. I think that would generally be a funny idea. The thing is, though, with the meta currently of Smash Ultimate, right, is people love to counterpick, especially some of the top players in the world. Obviously, MKLeo being the world's best player, he even has multiple characters that he likes to have comfort in. Basically, characters he likes to have fun with. Other players will opt to play the best characters in the game, those being, you'll see Steve, you'll see Kazuya, you'll see Joker, you'll see Pyra and Mithra, or Aegis as they are called in Xenoblade. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the players choose to, level down or just straight up pick their character and stay with it, or are we just going to see a total number of a bunch of different high-tier characters? We could see just all 4 players on each team playing Steve, Kazuya, Aegis, and maybe even Joker. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these players decide to adapt, or how they decide to, kind of try to counterpick the other team, So
Absolutely, that's definitely something that they should be making, should be taking full advantage of. And you'd expect it, right? You're coming in, you're going in for the win. Yes, it's an exhibition match, but you're setting the tone for once the season actually does start. You want to have that name in the game. So both of these teams, they're going to show up, show out. This is the practice where they can really release the nerves, get rid of the anxiety, start just getting the reps in, essentially, right? Because not only is it the pressure of performing in a match, but of course it's very difficult to play while being streamed. There's that additional that additional mental pressure. I know all these players, of course, are going to be doing great, but you mentioned a name that was it's really been sticking out recently. It's been echoing so far that even people outside of the Smash community are aware, and that's Steve. You know, he's everyone's beloved Minecraft character and has somehow ended up on the top of the tier list. So do you know anything about why he is so far up there?
So if I wanted to get into all the semantics, into all the details, I could probably write like a 200-page book, you know, but I'm probably just going to kind of put it in layman's terms. Basically, Steve is playing creative mode in this game. You know, Steve players are very thoughtful in the sense that they're trying to optimize the character's combos and optimize what Steve can do in terms of his entire kit. Now, when you think about it, if a character is able to kind of morph the stage, you know, with his own block in a sense, you have almost an infinite amount of possibilities that you can do, especially if you maintain all your resources. So if you are unfamiliar or if you are new to the scene and you don't know how Steve exactly gets resources, basically players press the B button and run across the stage, and while kind of mining, they can actually gather resources to establish materials. Those materials turn into different projectiles, turn into the stage itself, or they can just kind of form into the sky. So Steve has a lot of tools to mix players up and definitely get players thinking. Normally when players see a character's kit, it's, oh, I know what this character, I know what this character can do. I kind of have a counter attack already in my mind. Now, if Steve is just doing whatever Steve wants and, you know, doing whatever the player can think of, it turns into, I've never seen this before, I don't know what to do. So in the current meta, that is why Steve is not only one of the best characters in the game, possibly the best, as a lot of the top players are thinking, but it is also a reason as to why, you know, outside players of different games might have heard, oh my god, why does everybody hate Steve in Minecraft, or Steve in Super Smash Brothers, you know? So he is a very great character, but also a very controversial character.
Understood. And before we get into a couple of other members of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster, we actually want to get an eye on who's going to be competing for the Westlake roster. That's going to be Liz Magic 99, Kay, Jade, and Psy Guy. So those 4 players representing the side of Westlake. Again, 4v4 crew battle, so everyone's going to be meeting everyone else. All of these players are on their respective campuses as well, so you know that team spirit's going on in the room. But back to that Ultimate roster, back to the top tier characters. You were also mentioning before we got onto the broadcast, Juice, some thoughts on Banjo-Kazooie, for example. So can you go ahead and dive into that for me in short as well?
Yeah, sure thing, man. So Banjo is another like character that everybody originally thought was a fun addition to the roster. You know, it's everybody's favorite like old-timey character from one of the long forgotten Nintendo-esque, or I think Nintendo partnered games that everybody enjoyed. Obviously, Banjo and Kazooie is a very fun game. I played it as a kid. I'm pretty sure a lot of people might have played it as a kid, but to some of the kids who are playing in this tournament, they might not be too well aware of Banjo. But Banjo's addition to the game was definitely really like egged on ever since, I want to believe, like Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So now that Banjo is in, everybody's happy, but now that Banjo is actually being played, people are disappointed because Banjo seems to be a very bad character. But in the current, I'm going to be saying the current meta a lot, simply because a lot of what today's meta in Super Smash Bros. Competitive play is picking, you know, like I said, counter picking. So picking those better characters or having kind of like the comfort character that you feel like you can do best with. And with Banjo, it's very rare to see somebody solo picking or solo maining Banjo and Kazooies. Now there is quite a few members, you know, of the Banjo party that play Banjo and have labbed Banjo out to, you know, really good, you know, a really good path, basically. So there's some who believe Banjo is a very high tier character, while the rest of the community just believes he is rather disappointing. But there's actually a player in Utah named Jplay. Jplay is actually a very good Banjo, one of the top Banjos in the world, and he believes in his character as best as he can be. Kind of like you should if you have your favorite comfort character as well. You just got to get good. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Banjo is one of those that's like one of those controversials. Like he can either be really low or he can be really high depending on who you talk to.
Interesting. There's a lot of back and forth and a lot of debate from what I'm understanding. For me,
yes,
unfortunately, I don't really have that level of debate. I am a low tier Andy juice. I can only play Ganondorf, and
Hey.
ideally I would like to play him in Dittos, and that's about the extent of my capability. But I mean, those are the most fun Dittos aside from Captain Falcon. Let's be honest.
Hey man, I appreciate you as much as I can because Ganondorf and Falcon are literally my characters. Those are my two mains. I'll play them to the day I die, no matter what game it is. So Ganondorf, yeah, one of my favorite characters. There's some people who think Ganondorf is busted because he kills way too early. So obviously, in the timeline of Smash so far, Ganondorf is not the best character. But people will find a way to complain about a character given one way or another.
Oh, absolutely. I think that with Smash being as it is, a fun party game that's also turned into a competitive platform is going to have a lot of varying opinions, because you're going to have someone who may not be sinking in the hours for those in the training room to perfect those combos, and you're going to find people who fall victim to those heavier attacks, right? And then, of course, we have the professionals who are there 7 days a week, and even their spare time is just having fun because that's how much they love the game. So
right.
Opinions that are on both sides of the spectrum aren't surprising to me, but I still think it's amazing how much variety there is in a game like Smash Brothers, with so many different titles representing so many different brands. And I think what has been an interesting pattern is how many of the DLC characters have risen to the top of the tier list. I mean, we looked at one that was you had a couple of comments on it, but we agreed that it was generally okay. And the DLC characters have been taking a lot of top spots as well, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, no, very true. And that's so. Not only is it awesome, and it kind of gives outside players, like a lot of Tekken players have actually picked up Smash simply because Kazuya Mishima is in the game now. So it's like you see those DLC characters and you're like, yeah, dang, I really want to play Smash Bros. But then you don't realize that the DLC comes with a little bit of controversy, as well as most of the DLC are very, very, very good in the game. So it becomes like, oh, okay, so I just need to pay to win. And that it's another one of those things in the Smash Ultimate, I guess, professional player community that's highly debated, whether or not Fighters Pass 2 needs to be banned, or whether or not it's ultimately worth it to get that game and stuff like that. So, but like you said though, with a roster of over 80 characters and just a genuinely fun game ever since the original ones, Super Smash Bros. 64, this game is literally just that. It's a fun game that sure you could take seriously, but also at the end of the day, you want to make sure to have fun. You want to make sure you're happy, and don't beat yourself too much over something to have so much fun with.
Exactly, absolutely. I think what comes specifically to mind, though, and I guess it's kind of a lowball joke to make, but I'm pretty sure Min Min as Smash is more popular than ARMS itself. If we're talking about games in general with Nintendo, the Switch has been obviously an extremely fun console to play with. We all love Smash Brothers. We've been following it throughout its generations, but it's crazy to see how some characters have even outlived their own games.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, for sure, man. Like literally, when Min Min got in, I'm pretty sure like 80. I want to say maybe 90% of the population was like, "Oh, cool," because they're like, "Who is this character?" Because everybody was expecting. What's the blue character's name in ARMS? Is it Springman?
I think it was Springman. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody was hoping for Springman instead, but Springman was the assist trophy. So when Min Min got in, everybody was like, "Oh, this looks very interesting." And she's one of the few DLCs who managed to get a nerf before the end of development for the game. So I think everybody was grateful for that, but they wanted just a couple more nerfs for Min Min especially.
Absolutely. So Juice, I got a question for you.
What's up, my guy?
If you had to pick a top three, if you had to pick a top three set of characters that are your favorites, I know you said you pick Ganondorf and Falcon. You play them yourselves, but
right.
Characters and brands that are close to your heart that are represented in Ultimate, what would those be for you?
For me in particular, see, I am a huge Sonic fan. I've always been a Sonic fan, and like I've always loved the games. You turn on Live and Learn, and I just get into my 2006 mindset where I'm just headbanging, thinking I'm grinding on rails, playing Sonic the Hedgehog. So I was very appreciative of seeing Sonic in Smash. I wish he had a better moveset because a lot of it feels pretty repetitive. But apart from Sonic, I think that's okay. So that's, you said 3, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I got Sonic. Let me think. Okay, I know. I mean, obviously everybody's played a Mario game. If you don't know who Mario is at this point, like, you got to be Patrick Star and you're living under a rock.
Absolutely.
No shade, but that's just the truth. I hate to break it to you. But then let me think. I know for a fact it's Sonic. Secondly, see, the bad part is I need to actually have the roster in front of me, because there, like we said, there's like 89 characters or more, and it's like I obviously forget some up until I see them playing, and I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot that character was in the game for like the past 5 seconds. But I would definitely say Sonic. I'm gonna say Mario just for now because Mario. I've played Mario all my life. Everybody's played Mario, and if I had to pick one last one, I feel like, honestly, either Pac-Man or Cloud were like really, really cool picks to me. Like, I was genuinely excited to see Pac-Man in the game, and I was genuinely excited to see Cloud because I've always been a big fan of Final Fantasy. So it's always been, I like, anime guy with the giant sword. That's, every like teenage boy's like favorite thing, like seeing the giant battle at the end of the game, and you're just like, oh my god, this is the ultimate battle of ultimate destiny. So that was a really, really fun appearance for me to see. Oh my god, I forgot Sephiroth.
Sephiroth.
Yeah, Sephiroth. Literally, that was probably the hypest reveal character for me. Especially, you see the main story mode villain, right? You see Galeem. You see, like, oh my god, Galeem's gonna destroy everything, and then you just hear One-Winged Angel, and you just see Sephiroth, and you're like,
what?
You're like, no shot. They finally added Sephiroth. So that, I would say it's a tie between Cloud and Sephiroth, Sonic, and then Pac-Man, were all probably like Sonic and Pac-Man. Yeah.
I definitely love those answers a lot, and I have to agree with a lot of them. Pac-Man had a big part of my childhood. Love Sonic, especially Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I'm excited for Frontiers, which is coming out. Of course, Mario was a big part of the childhood. For me, Link kind of takes the place of Cloud, though I did get into recently Final Fantasy 14. But before I keep spieling on about myself, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start the hype very soon. But first, we got to adjust some couple things with the players in lobby. So we're going to be back with the matches after a short break. Stay tuned.
Did you know that the average teenager spends nearly 7.5 hours on their phone every day? In that time, you could watch a 2-hour movie almost 5 times in a row, or ride a roller coaster at a theme park 45 times, or fly to Hawaii and swim for an hour. You can make the best use of those 7.5 hours by spending 5 minutes of your day on the Keys to Success app. Keys to Success is a mobile app and website that rewards you for exploring your future. See you soon!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kengar Fall Festival 2022 preseason. I'm Ashkan, joined by Juice. Once again, we're going to be viewing the matches between Pleasant Grove and Westlake within the 5868 division. So we were talking about how the format was a 4v4 crew battle, 4 stock, 10 minutes, and your characters locked in for the entirety of the crew battle. Juice, I'm excited to see what is going on, what we're going to be seeing for stages. You discussed those a little bit earlier. You listed out all the stages. If you could predict, if you wanted to bet money on which stages we're going to be seeing the most, what would those be?
So a running meme is that everybody just goes PS2 regardless. Everybody starts on PS2, everybody stays PS2, and especially as it gets more competitive and, you know, people butt heads a little bit more, you know, PS2 is typically the pick, you know. But if people want to start to strategize, if people want to start to play to their character's strengths or adapt to their opponent's weakness, they may go Final Destination, or we may see, you know, bigger stages. Like for characters like Steve particularly, right here, we may, you know, usually we see Final Destination to kind of keep that zoning going. But here, starting off with Vikings v1, I'm trying to figure out the names right now. Okay, well, starting off with
Vikings
anyway
versus iTeam 2,
yeah,
Steve versus King DDD, and
yeah,
you guessed
Steve
it right,
is,
we are seeing a Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, that's my fault. I was just really trying to get an idea of the players' names. Unfortunately, I don't have that just yet, but we're already seeing a good amount of zoning coming out from the Steve here. But DDD is one of those characters with a projectile that that has boxing, but has a projectile that can kind of counteract Steve as well a little bit. So obviously, when Steve kind of commits to building up walls and mining right here, we're seeing the DDD throwing out that Gordo, as it's called, which is the side B input a lot. So that's kind of the answer here. But now, in a sense, this is what makes Steve so good in terms of competitive play. While DDD is trying to throw Gordos out, and while Steve has a wall of blocks up, Steve can actually farm for Diamond. Now, Diamond is one of the strongest items you can get in this game, and it kills almost every character at an insanely early percent.
Okay, so that's definitely the danger that they have to be working with. They have to be aware of it. He does have the materials, already crafted it. Tries to use the TNT to catch King DDD on the recovery and sends the minecart for a fatality of its own kind, and uses the stone to create a wall for themselves to play off of, but unfortunately can't dodge the reach of DDD's hammer.
Yeah. And what you're seeing right now is just a barrage of projectiles from Steve, which, again, so look at that. So not only did DDD get caught in the minecart, but got hit and reflected his own Gordo back at him, and now he is stuck at the ledge. And, actually manages to find a nice little kill there with the DDD back air there.
That was huge. Had he fallen any further behind, he might have lost an extra stock, and that would have been a huge leak in the favor of Westlake. But luckily, getting that recovery means that he can start evening out the percentages, which he's beginning to do. But man, I am sold on how strong Steve is, especially with the hitboxes on the minecart, the magma block, and being able to catch those Gordos in air. Right now, it's a huge lead by iTeam 2, aka Liz Magic.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing, you know, is the more Steve gets a lead, the worse it gets. Because as Steve begins to mine, as Steve begins to kind of zone you out with the wall, as Steve begins to catch you on the platform like that with the magma block, no matter what, Steve has some form of item he can throw at you. And right now we're seeing Vikings v1 trying to keep Steve humble here. All right, nice little minecart right there. But again, the diamond cart back air is what's going to make it's going to make people lose some brain cells, because I'm going to be honest, it does an insane amount of damage, and a lot of what Steve can do with that diamond pickaxe is build up an insane amount of damage too. Right now, DDD already sitting at 62%, and iTeam 2 is currently sitting at 74% on their first stock.
I just want to point out how huge it was for Liz, Steve, to get rid of King DDD before getting the craft off and resetting the durability on their diamond tools. And so now they have a huge lead in this stock. Once again, the minecart and magma cube trapping away DDD. And it feels like the options are just consistently being countered. And from what I can see, DDD is just struggling to find offhanded hits left and right. They're not really able to string together any combos against Steve right now.
Right. And that's the worst part about, playing DDD is DDD is so big, and DDD is almost gonna get hit by almost everything that Steve can throw out, while Steve is just currently biding time, gathering resources, and running away. Like, look at that! Look at that! Look at that! Viking.
Disgusting.
Oh wow! I love how Vikings was just like, I'm just gonna run up and up smash because I'm tired of this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At this point, you got to start taking a couple of risks and playing with the fact that you're a heavier character. Your kill percentage should be a lot higher. Now, you did mention, look, the diamond tools definitely give Steve an edge, but you got to be taking some gambles here, especially on that last stock left. Chain something together. It's a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, and literally every single time the Steve has thrown out any sort of minecart, DDD has either gotten grabbed, the Gordo has been reflected, or it's just led to a kill. And so that's why I'm trying to kind of detail the power that Steve has as a character. Is literally all these different projectiles, and some characters literally can't do anything about it. And even if a character can do something about it, that character oftentimes can only do one step ahead until the Steve adapts and chooses something else to counteract what that character can do.
Oh, dodging around, playing around the ledge. This is a very risky game that Kakita is playing. If Liz wanted to dedicate themselves to a smash attack, it would have been over. Last stock left. It's evened out. And look, DDD has done their job for the rest of the crew battle, right?
Yep.
They just didn't want to give Steve that huge stock lead that we might have expected from a top-tier character. So they've already done more than most, but they're stringing together combos to get Steve all the way up to 49%. They're countered off over at 130. It's the next hit. It's do or die. They're able to string together an aerial attack, but Steve is dodging with the Phantom Wings.
Yeah, that was actually really scary because right now Steve does not have access. Oh, wait. Steve does not have access to diamonds, so if the DDD can kind of keep the pressure on and keep Steve away from mining anything, this could actually go in favor of, Palm Grove.
So over C. Tension's building. Stone used to try to wall off DDD, but he gets past it over the ledge and finishes him off. Woo! It's going to be Pleasant Grove coming out on top. DDD with one stock left, and that is a huge unexpected lead. Juice. Look, I'm going to be honest, with how much you were hyping up Steve and with how much overall he's being discussed and debated in the Smash community,
right.
I was expecting this matchup to go heavily in his favor, for Steve to have tons of leftover stocks to work through the rest of the Pleasant Grove roster, but no, it's going to be them taking it on top, and DDD, I mean, that is an amazing turnaround, an underdog story that will snowball into something greater.
For sure. And see, here's the thing. I meant to say Pleasant Grove, but I was trying to remain calm, and I accidentally said Palm Grove. So I combined Pleasant and Palm into the wrong high school. So you guys are going to have to forgive me over at Pleasant Grove. That is my apologies. But what a comeback just in general, because as we saw, every single time that Westlake was throwing out the side B, the minecart at DDD, there hadn't really been too many crazy adaptations until that very, very last interaction where Pleasant Grove managed to get not even the back air, the fully charged down B in the air, calling it out with the jump and sealing that game. So that was a huge amount of momentum coming in terms of coming for Pleasant Grove at that particular moment. Momentum is a huge game changer, and that's exactly what we just saw right there.
So I want to ask you some questions, Juice, right? So we just witnessed the matchup between Dr. Kakit and Liz Magic 99. Liz eliminated, of course, and we're going to go in for K, the next player. And so knowing that DDD has only one stock left, do you think we're going to be seeing the counter picks you were talking about? Do you expect more of a comfort pick decision here? Or do you think that something else completely out of left field is going to occur?
So I think that's going to be entirely honestly, DDD is I will say a decent character. Okay, I'm not gonna gas up DDD because DDD is not an amazing character, but DDD is not the worst character in the game. DDD has some strengths versus very particular characters, especially characters with large hitboxes, and the Gordo can actually trap people around the ledge when people are trying to get back to stage as well. So DDD has some strengths, but if I would say any sort of character that could counterpick DDD, it would definitely be Steve. But in that exact moment we just saw, Steve managed to take the fall instead of DDD. So it could be just anyone in general. It could be somebody with enough DDD experience. It could be somebody. It could be another sortie, because DDD, I do know, if a character has smaller disjoints than DDD, they tend to struggle. If a character has larger disjoints than DDD and can get around the hammer and the frame data that DDD possesses, then it's a very, very bad time for DDD. So I don't think any character right now would be out of left field, because we just saw a left field interaction with DDD securing the win over Steve. So
Understood. That's fair enough. What are your thoughts about characters with counters, specifically the entire Fire Emblem cast? But in regards to them going against King DDD, do you think that's an expectation that we could see, especially with the popular choice in Marth, or excuse me, not Marth, but Lucina now?
Are you asking in general how counters fare versus DDD, or just characters with counters?
Characters with counters.
I think it was a very interesting idea when it first came to Smash, but as Smash got older, and as we've had, I think Super Melee, Brawl, 4, and then Ultimate. As we've had 4 installments since Melee, no, 3 installments since Melee came out. Oh, well, actually, we don't even have a counter character, but we do have a Fire Emblem character.
There we go.
So, but I will say that Byleth definitely is a character that is somewhat of a hard counter to DDD, because DDD does have that giant hurt box of a body where it gets comboed very easily. And not only that, but Byleth has a much bigger disjoint as well, and frame data to kind of to match DDD as well.
And just a real quick contextualization there. We saw King DDD self-destruct 3 times because that's how many stocks they had to lose, because they lost 3 stocks in the previous round. Remember, that's the rule of the crew battle. So it's going to be 1 stock versus 4. And so it's going to be should be a pretty smooth journey for K to just eliminate it. But you can see how they're being very wary with the zoning potential that DDD has.
Oh my god, hold on. But Kakit is actually going kind of crazy with the down Bs on King DDD.
Oh, absolutely. Already picking up a stock, they're working through. If they find a second one, they'll have already bared a big enough burden for the rest of the squad. I mean, Byleth is a heavy-hitting character, so getting them off of the board as soon as possible is going to be pretty beneficial. Of course, they have a couple of ranged tools and whatnot that continue to make her a threat, but I think for now, they should be okay.
Yeah, no, and Dr. Kakit is playing really well in terms of just kind of waiting for... the down air is actually going to come out right there. Going to kind of disrupt that down B coming out from Kakit. But forgive me, I was trying to say, Kakit is actually doing a good job of trying to condition the Byleth here to make a mistake, and then just going to counter with that and grab a lot of decent damage. Like that right there. Once you make a mistake, and we've actually seen Byleth actually throw out quite a lot of forward smashes, and Dr. Kakit's taking advantage of that. The minute Kakit sees that, they're just going to go ahead and punish with that very powerful, very explosive down B.
There we go! Whoa!
But
it doesn't kill!
Yeah, DDD is remarkably heavy, actually.
It's a super heavy of its own class. Alright, all you got to do is close out this stock, K. For the rest of your team over at Westlake, that's what they want to do. They need to see this close out now, because another stock in the favor of Pleasant Grove is going to be... It's going to set them up for a really difficult uphill battle.
Yeah, this is very scary, because if Dr. Kakit gets another one of those down Bs, then Westlake is going to be in a very peculiar situation, but the dash attack is going to seal it, and Dr. Kakit is going to go ahead and have a seat. But that was a good showing for Dr. Kakit. A lot of down B kills and a great lead so far as well. I believe that was 6 stocks? Yeah, 6 stocks.
They're walking away with 6 stocks under their belt. Picked up Steve, took them out of the equation. And look, Byleth is a heavy hitter, so making sure that they have a little less wiggle room is amazing on its own. And so they can walk away confident doing 1.5 persons worth of work, right? Because we're only really expecting each person on average to take 3 to 5 stocks. So they went above and beyond that. And that gives a lot of the extra comfort room. And I want to talk about that dash attack on Byleth as well. I mean, I want to say that dash attack on some characters can be that sleeper finishing move. Now, we did see DDD at almost 160%, but they're also a super heavy, right? So on a lighter character, maybe what can we expect in the future with that dash attack and what Byleth brings to the table?
Well, with Byleth specifically, well, they bring a lot to the table with that dash attack. A lot of Byleth's moves, Byleth kind of focuses on tippers. So obviously what we saw earlier is we did see one of the Byleth forward smashes connecting, but it connected inside of that like orange sphere shape. That orange sphere shape is where that tipper lies. So if Byleth manages to connect that, even some of the heaviest characters will be dying at very early percentages. However, right then and there, because it was within the handle of that giant sphere, or that giant spear, forgive me, DDD actually didn't die just yet, even though DDD was at, what, 120-ish%. Being a super heavy and getting hit by the weak hit of that move is going to kind of get you to live a little bit. But after the end, the dash attack does kind of have a sour spot, but it's not that big.
Ooh.
The sour spot is not that big. But
Okay.
Palutena.
Yeah, Battle of the Green Hair over here. Way to go
The
ahead.
Battle of the Green Hair and who has the better back air, actually, because we will be seeing a lot of nairs from both of these characters and a lot of back airs from both of these characters as well, because those are two very good tools that these characters have in common. So seeing who can kind of close the gap first with their combo starter being nair is going to be huge here.
Okay, we're already seeing some initial damage in the favor of Westlake. Byleth doing a great job zoning. A couple of awkward aerial moves, trying to build up in the neutral here, using the bone arrow to its fullest. A nice parry, but couldn't follow it up into anything. A lot of early frame moves coming out by Palutena. And so we're pretty much seeing the standard online Palutena movement for now at the beginning.
Yeah. And that's another thing. So when we talk about disjoints, obviously Byleth does really well at those. But Palutena has some disjoints of her own. Palutena having that back air and Palutena having that dash attack are basically invulnerable. So Palutena cannot be damaged if you are attacking her shield. Not only that, but that up air is almost invulnerable as well, as it has such a large hitbox that most characters can't counter it. Dang near 99.9% of the cast can't actually do anything about it.
Oh my! Just a neutral, just a jab out there being thrown. That's going to finish off that first stock. Still on all four. So it's going to be a very comfortable position here for Palutena to try and further. Again, we were talking about how it's going to snowball. This is where it's going to really take place. If Byleth is finished off without even being able to retrieve a stock, things are going to look really grim for the side of Westlake.
Right. And I will say, though, Byleth has been throwing out quite a lot of forward smashes in neutral, and although a forward smash is really good in terms of kill power, it is a considerable risk because of how much end lag it has, and that's what we've been seeing the Byleth here throw out quite a lot, and it's what Dr. Kakit kind of caught on to, and it's also what the Palutena here is managing to kind of wall out and, you know, punish for.
Paxafen just keeping Byleth off of the stage. There's no room for K to get back on. Just look at how quick they are to control the ledge, and a down tilt is going to finish it all off. And that was a smooth two stock. Paxafen gets to keep the entirety of their inventory there. So as they move on into the next match, which will be against Jade, they're going to be feeling more than comfortable. And this is going to be the second time we're really seeing a traditional 1v1 in the crew battle, right? We had that first match of the day, of course, and now we've kind of worked our way down the ladder here to this point in time.
Right. And again, like talking about that comfortable lead that Pleasant Grove has, you know, they have such a large lead that they can kind of play around with who they feel like throwing out next or who they feel like they can play around with the counter picks that Westlake has in store, right? So no matter what kind of counter pick Palutena is expecting, Palutena is an overall really sound character, and some would consider still top 5 in the game despite not being a DLC character. So no matter what Westlake decides to throw over at Pleasant Grove's way, Palutena can not only probably counter that or just meet it halfway, but they have such a good amount of space to deal with that they don't really have too much to worry about.
Now, Juice, I wanted to ask you to define something in a little bit more depth, because of course we're watching these high school students duke it out, and they might be, you know, being supported at home by friends and family. So the concept of disjoints, would you mind diving into that very lightly and kind of explaining what you mean by that when you're talking about that vocabulary term?
Yeah, sure thing. So basically, a disjoint is when a character. So let's put, for instance, Palutena, right? Palutena, when she does a certain move, when she does her dash attack, which is when you dash forward and you press A, she has a hurt. She has a hurt box. Palutena's hurt box is what her body is covered in. Now there is hurt boxes and then there is hit boxes. So a hit box is something that does damage. A hurt box is something that takes damage. So with Palutena, whenever you have a hit box that does not have a hurt box, that means that that move itself is almost that particular area of hurt box, or forgive me, of a hit box is called a disjoint because it cannot take damage specifically. So let's say when Palutena throws out her little sphere or not her sphere, her staff that she possesses, that would be considered a disjoint. Or her body when she throws out a kick, that would not be considered a disjoint because it's her body that can still be hit and a trade can happen there. A trade meaning that Palutena throws out a move and a character throws out a move that will still hit her at the same time. But if she throws out her back air or a dash attack, that move is going to have a priority over whatever move somebody may throw out.
Understood. And so a character with more disjoints is generally a lot stronger. Speaking of strength, we were talking about how Piranha Plant stands on the tier list a lot earlier before the broadcast, and we were thinking it was relatively low. Of course, that doesn't speak towards the player's individual skill, right? So we have Jade on Piranha Plant, but right now they've already taken a huge hit, so they've got to recover.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a huge hit, and right now Palutena is just kind of showing just general well-roundedness as a character, and forgive the player, I believe this is K as well, if I'm not mistaken, is just showing general knowledge of how to play this game as well, kind of just weaving in and out of Piranha Plant's range and weaving in and out of the past two opponents' range and kind of punishing whenever they get too anxious for a move.
So we're seeing the recovery. Now, I definitely think the recovery on Piranha Plant is certainly one of the most, one of the stronger ones in regards to the Smash Bros. Cast. But of course, they're not going to be able to deal with the amount of utility and sheer range Palutena has against them. I want to say a lot of those neutral inputs for Piranha Plant are just really difficult to deal with, or really difficult to reach someone with.
Yeah. So Piranha Plant's recovery is relatively good, but because it does not have too much of a hitbox, meaning that it's somebody can run up and stop Piranha Plant's recovery, or outright spike them, meaning throwing out a move that will just send them straight down into the bottom blast zone. Piranha Plant can be killed pretty easily if somebody does get a read on how the Piranha Plant wants to recover. And right now, that is not going to be death, but that's going to be decent damage for Piranha Plant right here.
122%. Just need something to close out the stock. Any damage to Palutena, get rid of the disjointed character. She's so strong, especially in online play. She's notorious with that reputation, and I love the special. That is something that can definitely out-timing someone. When it comes to Piranha Plant, you know that they're a little bit on the lower end of the character tier list, but they have a lot of moves that can catch you by surprise and can mix you up.
Right, and that move in particular, the down B, which was that like timing, you can mix up the timing really well, and even then it also does have super armor. Super armor basically meaning it's going to take more than one hit to knock them out of knock them into tumble and basically knock them out of that state. So while Piranha Plant is doing that down B, obviously we saw Palutena run up and do a back air versus Piranha Plant, but Piranha Plant did not get knocked out of it. That is because of that armor right there that we see.
It's like when a Warlock in D&D can maintain spell concentration. I had to throw that in there.
You're going to have to educate me on some Warlock in D&D, because I play a little D&D, but not enough to know spell concentration.
Well, we'll definitely get to it afterwards, but for now we're seeing Palutena going in for the grabs. Now they're just getting up close and personal. I think there's over the course of this match, we're seeing confidence being built by Paxifen right now, and Juice, they're just pressing forward the advantage.
Yeah, I do want to apologize. I'm like getting confused on names because I want to say Paxifen and I wanted to say Jade, but I had a K in my vocabulary, so I ended up saying K. But my apologies, y'all. But Paxifen, again, is doing an amazing job of just showing how well they are at this game, knowing how to just do these genuine Palutena combos and how to really play around Palutena's burst range as well.
Okay, we're approaching the second stock to close out for Jade. All they have to do, land a strong attack, something charged, the side B, and it's going to go over the stage.
Yep.
Visually, I almost thought that they were just in center stage. They were going to fall right back down. No, that's going to be Paxifen off 2 stocks now. And this is a really awesome recovery. We have to give Jade the credit they're due, especially on Piranha and with how disjointed Palutena is.
Yeah, no, Jade is doing a really good job of surviving right now. Oh, look at that. The dash attack not going to beat out the down B again, but Jade going to go ahead and throw out a nice dash attack. But it's going to trade, and Paxifen's going to throw out that nice explosive flame to close out the stock and continue Pleasant Grove's pretty much domination at this point. They have a really good lead right now with almost, I think that's 3 players down, and literally only, I believe it was Dr. Kackett who is now out of brackets. So this is a very strong lead thanks to Dr. Kackett and thanks to Paxifen.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and remind everyone what's been going on over the course of this crew battle. So Liz Magic 99, K and J now eliminated, as you stated, Juice. It all rests on the shoulders of Psy Guy in regards to Westlake, and you're absolutely correct. Dr. Kackett on that King DDD was the first to be eliminated, and we're only halfway through Paxifen's 2 stocks. Again, they're locked in on Palutena, so this is the chance to create a counter pick against that character, but when you're the last man standing, now you have a weighted decision to make. Do I want to pick what's comfortable to me, or do I want to pick something that I know will get me across at least this first wall that I have to break down towards victory?
Not only that, but you do have to take into the account that when you do pick a character, you are locked into that character. So if you want to make that counter pick that you may or may not be comfortable with, you have to stick with that character through all 4 of your stocks. So I will say the few characters that do manage to kind of outrange or beat Palutena are arguably Roy, Diddy Kong, and Pikachu, to name a few. Now those 3 characters, I won't say they're very difficult to play, but they do all have certain ways of recovering and certain styles of play that you have to get used to. And Palutena is such a well-rounded character, almost everybody has a Palutena. So Palutenas can usually kind of just adapt to playing around whatever counter picks may come their way. So I think it's going to be a very interesting pick. I'm gonna say I don't expect to see a Diddy Kong. We definitely might see a Roy though. Roy is a very common character in today's meta, so that could be the option here.
Okay, and that would be the second Fire Emblem character that we see on screen, which would be a cute little nod to the brand. But I think, right, when your back's against the wall like this, you want to maintain something that's comfortable to you as an individual, right? That's the fine. That's really when you've got 3 matches ahead of you, or 2.5 if you want to keep track of the stocks. Knowing and kind of being able to observe the matches gives you an idea of how the other person is going to play. And that's another aspect of these crew battles that's very important, right? Is you get to watch your teammates and their habits and how they interact with your opponents. And so that's going to mean you can learn some things that might be utilized on an individual level, even outside of the game, just as a core reflection of how you play. Now, we got Mewtwo on screen, and that was a little bit unexpected. How do you feel about it, Juice?
So Mewtwo, if I'm talking about character matchups as well, I think we're already seeing Paxifen. Oh wait, Paxifen got a little too excited and saw a very comboable Pokemon and did not realize to SD first. But so in terms of this matchup in general, Mewtwo does kind of suffer versus Palutena. Mewtwo is another one of those characters that's kind of like labeled as mid-tier. Oh wait.
They're gonna have to reset the lobby due to that.
Yeah. Okay, I got a little confused. I thought Paxifen was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give you the dub maybe or something like that, but never that. Like I was saying though, Mewtwo is another one of those characters that has a peculiar strength to him, but he's also very weak in terms of the fact that so back to talking about hurt boxes and hit boxes, right? Mewtwo's tail is a giant hurt box, meaning whatever attack hits Mewtwo's tail, Mewtwo can be over here and his tail could be over here. But if you hit his tail right here, whatever powerful attack you hit his tail with, he's gonna die that way. So Mewtwo is very unusual, and players love to exploit the fact that Mewtwo can just get comboed into smithereens. So seeing whether or not Paxifen knows that, I'm pretty sure they do. Seems being they started the match off with a 48% difference, and because they got a little excited. I think Paxifin knows that, so we're going to see whether or not Saigai can kind of contest Paxifin's knowledge here.
And here it is, Saigai. It's all on your shoulders, man. We believe in you. We love an underdog story. This is your time to shine. And look, I'm a Pokemon fan on top of it. Scarlet and Violet, I'm excited for. So look, this is for everyone.
This is for all the Pokemon fans in the chat. But Paxifin is also a mighty player so far, as we've seen. So I expect a nice little brawl here.
Brawl? But, no, it's Ultimate.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, no, he actually did.
Sorry. I had to go for it. I had to.
I get it. I get it. I set it up, so it just had to happen. But I will say, a little bit of a interesting DI right there. So that's another term that I'll cover. Basically, DI is just directional input. So if you flick your stick the opposite direction of where you are launched, you won't fly as far. But if you keep your stick in the same direction as you are launched, you will die a lot earlier. And in that situation, it looked like Saigai might have had the wrong DI right there.
I see, understood. Right now, the neutral game started with a little bit of a slow pace with projectiles being used, but now we're seeing, once again, Paxifin in the face of Saigai. They really want to close this out. Platforms used as a buffer for a split second, but Saigai actually disadvantaged because that up air connects and the up tilt as well. Side B does not work as a finisher, but hey, that final strike will take Saigai's third stock. They're down to 2. Can they get rid of this Palutena? Look, Paxifin, a thorn in the side of Westlake. Pleasant Grove has had it too good for way too long, and so this is it. This is where he wants them to fall.
And now that's going to be the thing that I'm going to argue. I kind of want to see Saigai manage to take Paxifin stocks. Not specifically because I'm biased or anything, but just because I want to see a little bit more of Pleasant Grove's player base. I want to see what they can do, you know? It'd be very interesting. And Paxifin could be their strongest player. We don't know because we haven't seen any of the other players come out just yet. So for the sake of just continuity and for the sake of seeing more Smash Ultimate, that's kind of what I want to see at this very moment. But I don't know if Paxifin's going to let that happen.
Absolutely. No, we always want to see more Smash Brothers, and that's another aspect of the crew battle, is the order in which you organize your players. We're seeing the attack being pressed, shields being used, out of shield options seeming difficult to navigate right now. And no, the up B not able to connect with the ledge, no ledge grab occurs, and that's going to be a stock lost in a recovery error.
Yeah, this is a very difficult. Ooh, actually, that was really good on Saigai's part, taking away the jump from Paxifin, but right now Paxifin managing to make it back to stage. Okay, Saigai going for the up smash to end the stock. Saigai has to make sure that they do not get too greedy at all, because Palutena is the one of the few characters in this game who can just literally combo you to smithereens and kill you very, very quickly. All right, nice recovery back onto the stage. Ooh, but a great read with the forward smash as Palutena and Paxifin decides to roll in, and Saigai manages to seal the stock there with one last stock to go.
That is going to be this is a last man standing situation. I want to say, literally, it's like a last man standing situation. It's almost as if there's a final standing. No, it is. This is where Saigai on Mewtwo is going to be locked in. It is 8 total stocks that they have to get through. And look, it's doable. It's possible. We don't know what's going to be brought out by their opponents, right? There's still a lot to be seen from the side of Pleasant Grove. That means for Saigai representing Westlake, they could have a lot of freedom in these matchups. But on the opposite side, because this is also the kind of situation where your opponent might get ahead of themselves, right? Pleasant Grove might be like, we got 2 whole players. This is going to be easy. They might try to mess around. They might try to get ahead of themselves. They might go ahead and start making some micro errors. And that's fully what you want in this scenario. If you're Saigai, you're waiting for them to make the first mistake and take advantage of the overconfidence. Because that's the kind of way that you set up a mental game with your opponent and ensure your victory. Because if they feel overconfident, overconfidence is a very easy highway to having your mental broken if it's played correctly.
And that's the biggest thing, that like that's another one of the memes in this, in one of the staple memes in the Smash community, is there is always a taunt to get bodied moment. So if Pleasant Grove decides to get too cocky, if we start seeing a lot of the taunts coming out, we start seeing I can do whatever I want with all these stocks, there is a highly possible chance that Psy Guy and Westlake can make a miraculous comeback, a miraculous underdog story happen, and it could come to life potentially. And that's what we're going to see right here. And kind of like what we were saying earlier, right? Paxifin showed a crazy amount of prowess right now. And whether or not Paxifin is Pleasant Grove's best player is to be determined. But it was such a strong showing that I feel I'm gonna make an assumption here. Okay, I'm willing to take a bet for it, but I'm gonna say Paxifin might have been like, everybody's like, okay, we need you to kind of take out everybody before any of us go in, because that is a high like level strategy in this game for crew battles, is send the best player in, you know, as quickly as possible and eliminate as many players as possible, and then let everybody else kind of coast and have to relax, you know. So whether or not that's what Pleasant Grove decided to do is to be determined here.
And here we go. We're getting those stocks, the stock resets in. And finally, we're good to go. As soon as Mewtwo gets rid of that invincibility, we'll be set. And we're seeing it again. Starts with the projectiles. Mario here has a lot of combos. I find him to be one of the characters that is a little bit more difficult to kill with. Not that he doesn't have any kill moves, right? But his range is generally shorter. But he makes up for that in excessive amounts of combos.
Oh, no, for sure. And one thing I want to point out about Mario is Mario has killing combos, but when it comes to Mario killing himself, he has to really kind of fish for certain attacks to land first. You know, like he has to fish for an up smash, may have to fish for another back air. But, you know, after all sorts of different attacks, oh, wait a minute. Ooh, the combo! And going for the forward air to end it all, but not going to get it.
I kind of
like Mario Glitchy right now. They're definitely trying to style on Psy Guy at this moment. But Psy Guy's trying to find something here to kind of close out this stock and hopefully take more stocks.
Mario Glitchy, what you got? 100%.
Yeah,
Psy Guy's low.
And grab right there.
The reflect. Oh, that gets him off the ledge, and that's a free recovery.
Oh my god, that up smash would have definitely killed as well. Great back air. Mario Glitchy saved the jump though, so that's perfect right there. He's gonna manage to make it back on the stage. A Shadow Ball here will kill, but Psy Guy has to pay attention not to throw it out when Mario Glitchy is expected. Oh no! That's so unfortunate.
The recovery error, it's a misinput there that takes Psy Guy out of this crew battle. And that was the last stand for Westlake.
Yep.
It was looking to be an amazing battle, and he absolutely had the potential to get back on stage there, Juice. I believe it in my heart of hearts, and there was that possibility, but sometimes it's just a little flick of the stick that can end you, and it's the kind of thing where you look at it and you can only go, it is what it is. You have to acknowledge the level of play. You have to acknowledge the respect. The players were really intense on the ledge in those final few moments, especially on the left end of the map. But it just closes out in the favor of Pleasant Grove.
Yeah, Pleasant Grove is going to go ahead and take the dub today, but there is a dub in Westlake, so we will see whether or not they will be actually improving, because remember, these are exhibition matches, so this was in like competitive terms, this was kind of like a friendly, you know, like whenever two teams decide to play each other for fun just to kind of test out the waters of how their players are, that's called an exhibition. So obviously when we get into the actual season, we're going to see whether or not these two teams are, you know, whether they improve, whether they deprove. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to say it. So whether or not they can improve or whether or not they might have any other plans is going to be yet to be seen later on when we show back up for y'all in October as well. So
absolutely, yes. So make sure you guys are following the Twitch and the YouTube wherever you are watching this live stream at. The Ken Garf Fall Festival is going to go ahead and continue, and we'll have more action, not just with Super Smash Brothers, but of course a few other titles as well. So stay tuned, keep your ear to the ground, and if you enjoyed us, my name was Ashcon. You can follow me at Ashcons_voice on Twitter. And Juice, why don't you tell us where we can find you before we send things off?
So yeah, you guys can find me at The Light Skin. That's going to be LITESKIN. You can find me on Twitter as well. But before you follow either of us, be sure to follow Ken Garf Esports as well. Seeing as much as they're putting on right now, seeing success in education, seeing all the graphics and all the hard work they put in, they just deserve it so much. So please be sure to follow them. Be sure to follow Space Time Strategies on Twitter.com as well. And if you'd like, you can follow us too. We'd greatly appreciate it.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you in the next instance of Ken Garf.
Esports is more than just gaming.
It's just a really good way to meet new people who are interested in the same thing as you.
It gives them a good sense of sportsmanship and teamwork.
The big goal with Ken Garf Esports is to introduce these students to industry. We want to show them that they can take their interest and passion and turn it into future opportunity.
And it's open to everyone. Encourage students to sign up for Ken Garf Esports today. To learn more about success in education and coding programs, visit SIEUtah.org.
Did you know that the average teenager spends nearly 7.5 hours on their phone every day? In that time, you could watch a 2-hour movie almost 5 times in a row, or ride a roller coaster at a theme park 45 times, or fly to Hawaii and swim for an hour. You can make the best use of those 7.5 hours by spending 5 minutes of your day on the Keys to Success app. Keys to Success is a mobile app and website that rewards you for exploring your future. See you soon!